Mark Lopez. He was a Harrier mechanic, planes that take off vertically, and they were in charge of protecting the no-fly zone after the Gulf War. He only did 4 years, but it's just impacted his whole life since then. He runs his own business. He is the baby of 12 from Nicaragua and didn't even know anything more than 1 through 10 in pencil when he came here. And the Marine Corps just gave him, as the baby of 12 immigrants, a whole life here pursuing the American dream. He was proud to serve his country that he's now a citizen of, and he follows the Marine Corps motivated, dedicated principles to run his business, and I think that's why he's been so successful here. Well, the opportunity to go to college for him really wasn't even on the table until after he did serve his 4 years and got to use the GI Bill. So U.S. Marine Corps paid for university for him. He really wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise. He's the only of his siblings that graduated from college and or their spouses as well. So no excuses.
My father was Paul Phillips, and he served in both the Marine Corps and the Army in World War I. He was 16. He lied about his age so that he could enlist because he wanted to serve his country. So he enlisted in the Air Force and got sent to Europe, but they found out pretty quickly that he was not of age, so they sent him home while he was still 16, enlisted in the Army, and this time he got away with it. He served in the Army in World War II and was actually in the Army for less than a year and a half, and he was injured in a training incident, so he never actually saw the fighting. I think he was in a way disappointed that he didn't actually get to fight for his country. He really wanted to do that. But he was very proud to serve his country. I think he would have enrolled in every branch of the military until he found a way to serve.
My father, Martin Nelson Stevens. He was a naval officer in World War II, and he participated in the landings at Okinawa and Iwo Jima within 3 weeks of one another. He served for several years. He did not go on to have a career with the military, but he was one of those brave young men fighting in World War II. Iwo Jima and then Okinawa. Okinawa was the last great battle of the war, and probably the greatest land, air, and sea battle ever. And it really was the conclusion of the war. It lasted 85 days. And my father was part of the flagship of the task force, so he was actually involved in the signaling to launch the battle. And he did receive a Purple Heart and Bronze Medal for his service at that time. My father's generation we call the Great Generation. My father always said that he believed in personal responsibility, and I think that they really are great examples for us.
My father was Fred Niebergall, and he served in the United States Army in 1943 and retired in 1973. And when the Army split with the Air Force, he went with the Air Force. In 1946 and 1947, he was the chief of documents for the Nuremberg war crimes trials and was responsible for making sure that all the German documents that recorded their actions during World War II were available for evidence in the war crimes trials. Then after that, he worked for the Air Force in counterintelligence, and was basically his job was to catch spies that were coming into Germany. My father was an immigrant to the United States from Germany, and with his ability to speak German, he had an opportunity to serve his country by being able to translate those documents and manage those materials for the war crimes trials. As far as his actions after that, since he was a spy, honestly, I didn't know that he was in the military until we came to the United States in the 1960s, and then suddenly he turned into a colonel in the United States Air Force. But up until then, I thought he was just working for the United States as a German citizen.
I'm speaking about my 21-year-old younger brother. He enlisted after his 18th birthday, so about 3 years. He's in the 101 Airborne Division, which is like 11B Screaming Eagles, so it was a branch in the Army. He just got back from deployment in Afghanistan, so he was there about 8 months ago, and he just came home about a month ago. When my brother was deployed, he was telling me how a lot of time he would spend, with the Afghan children. And he actually had this cool exchange where he gave the kid like candy, and that was something that they really wanted, and that meant a lot to him. And in return, he gave him like this quilted blanket, which is actually in my living room now, but I thought it was pretty cool that you kind of see on the movies the soldiers taking time to play with the kids, but like for him to actually do that and get that gift and be able to give that kid like a soccer ball and candy kind of meant a lot and showed a lot. It's weird that he graduated here in 2013, and a lot of the teachers wouldn't expect it. And like I have a lot of students who've known him and they don't expect that he went from like this scrawny little kid to this super buff Army soldier who shoots massive guns. So it's kind of funny to talk to the teachers then and now about him and who he is and what he's done. So that's kind of interesting.
That we all call